Hello and welcome to the podcast. It's been a while since we've had one. This is actually going to be a joint podcast. We're going to do this for my own personal channel, and I'm doing this for AAI. So because I think the guest today, Mubarak Bala, has some very important things to tell us. So I'm going to be sharing that on both platforms, both again mine and the AAI platform. So again, today's guest is Mubarak Bala. If you do not know who he is a Nigerian activist who was imprisoned for 5 years for a Facebook post. So he's here to tell us about his life and what led to him being sent to prison for 5 years, the impact that that had on him, his family. I would just like to give a shout out to the organizations, so to AAI, to Humanist International, to other organizations that helped while Mubarak was in prison, helping with legal fees, helping with money for his family. We would like to extend our sincerest thanks to everybody who helped to do that. So let's turn it over to Mubarak. So Mubarak, in 2020, you made a Facebook post that got you arrested. So can you maybe just give us a quick introduction to yourself, and do you recall what that post was that got you arrested? I'm sure that's seared into your memory. So just maybe just give us a brief intro, and then we can go into what's happened to you in the last several years.
Okay, thank you, Jason, for having me. And
Welcome.
before I start, gratitude to all those out there, individuals and organizations that contributed in time, in resources, in hours, and sometimes even risking their safety to show solidarity towards me, especially when with the Humanist Association here over there in Nigeria. I'm currently living in Germany. So thank you for everything. Thank you. My name is Muhammad Mubarak Bala. I was born in northern Nigeria, Kano State, which is at the very edge of the Sahara Desert, which is the Sahel region, the most dangerous region now in the world, unreported region in the world. So I was born a Muslim, and in my teenage years, I got to understand science, and it led me to where I am today. I became an outlier right from day one because in my society, hardly would you find an individual being educated in both the Islamic and the Western education. So my father thought, according to the Muslim Brotherhood doctrine, to educate his children both ways so that you can help the religion in due course as you find yourself wherever you're supposed to represent the religion. So if I became a pilot and there was need for some jihad, I should be able to work towards that. If I became a doctor, then I'm a doctor for Islam. If I became an engineer, I'm an engineer for God, for Allah. So I had both advantages, and which now became a conflict in my synthesizing brain right from teenage years. It doesn't make sense. While one section of the doctrine is indoctrination and threats and beatings, no one is threatening me on the morning sessions where I get to know 1 + 1 is equal to 2. So I get beaten if I don't wear the hat. I get beaten if I don't dress properly according to the culture. And if I ask too many questions, or if I maybe express doubts, I get beaten. And my questions were always weird, weird to the clerics. Even right from childhood, I asked my father, I could remember asking my father at a very young age, how did God made himself, and how did he came about? And if I even asked a ridiculous question, that he turned to look at me like this, because I asked him, what if another God made himself earlier than God? This was a toddler asking questions, and I could remember vividly. And I was wondering, how could God make himself earliest than any other God and then becoming the God himself? So this is my background. And the Sharia region of northern Nigeria is an untouched region up till date. It's not, it's a pristine cultural region where even the British avoided it. Even the empires of the world avoided it. The Ottoman Empire never reached our region from the Sahara Desert. It just stopped at the Mediterranean edges of the Sahara Desert. So we haven't had any penetration from the outside world from the north, and we haven't had any penetration from the ocean when the British came. So they allowed the system to go on as it is because it was better to colonize in a way through the leaders, the colonial, the traditional leaders. So this is a region worse than Afghanistan in terms of all the indices, all the statistical indices were the worst in education, especially for the girl child. We are worse in child marriages. We are worse in poverty. We are the poverty capital of the world for quite some time, which is one of the posts that got me in jail because I said why we are in this poverty situation is because we have a high birth rate, we have this, we have that, and then there is no Allah. Allah doesn't exist. So we are trying to give the Islamic religion the numbers while there is no God to help us. And it irked some Muslims. And I think it's because I posted it in Hausa, but we'll go to that. So let me continue with my background. So in my teenage years, I got to question my religion, but I wasn't confident. So I was not sure, but I knew there was some loopholes there. Then in my 20s, I immediately began to lose the faith. So I realized that if I was by myself, I don't really pray. I only pray in congregation or when asked to. And the enthusiasm about the religion, especially as I hoped to convert as much as I can people into Islam. This is my way of humanism. I felt God is too petty to burn everyone. I would see a very good person, and then I would imagine that this is a person going to hellfire. So I would try to introduce them to the religion. This is what I had tried to do, comparative religion. So already I have dismissed the Christianity and other religions I was in contact with, and I was left with Islam. Then science, it failed with science, it failed with my conscience, and it failed with a lot of questions that I had in mind. So in my 20s, I left the religion. And then about the time I was supposed to go to the UK for a master's degree, I intimated to my mother that maybe if you ever heard that I'm not a Muslim, don't be heartbroken. It's not because I'm in the UK. It's because I have not been a Muslim for quite some time. I don't believe Allah exists. I don't believe in God, and I'm an atheist. And this scared my mother, and she reported it to my father, not knowing the consequences. And so the master's degree was cancelled, and I ended up in a psychiatric hospital for weeks, about 3 weeks, with medications, actually forced medications. That was a decade ago. And when I got out, by then it was too late. You can't really contain the news because the Boko Haram has picked it. The video was out. The leader of Boko Haram was referring to me that I am a contractor for the Jews, which is why he had to abduct Chibok girls. That was the video. And so the whole of the northern region, which was suffering Boko Haram attacks and killings, now also asked me that the government must arrest me and kill me. This is the irony. They were suffering killings and through the jihad, and they want to wage another jihad on another individual. So I became active online after that because I chose not to leave the country because my father said I should not abandon my people. He thought maybe if I left, then there wouldn't be a chance of conversion. But I was never really intending to convert. I wanted to just live my life within the region, within my people, but as free as I can. And it had been a challenge, and I managed to eke out about 5-7 years with the community, and there was no problem. We had no issues. I had no big issues with Muslims, just that now they had my time. It was COVID-19 time, and they had time, they had internet, and they were doing nothing else. So, and I was trying to reach out, especially about the COVID-19 protocols that they were not adhering to, and they were risking everyone else. So I was trying to reach out. So I switched from the English language that I always engaged online to the local Hausa language, which now brought back their memory that this was the person that was supposed to be killed for leaving Islam, but now he's free. So they decided to pressure the government to take me. But ironically, even the government that was supposed to protect me and individuals such as myself who are in the minority, we know they can't protect anyone because they can't protect even the Christians being killed by my people, the Muslims. So now the government, instead of choosing to take me to where I was safe, for example, towards the south of Nigeria, they decided to take me further into the north. And this is how I ended up spending 4.5 years in jail.
And so it was the government that sent you to the Islamic, it was Kano state, right? That's run by the Muslims. So was there any reason why they did that? Was it just to appease the Muslim militants to send you there?
Well, you see, the northern region with the skewed birth rate, we have the highest birth rate, I think, globally, with 7.6 children per
Wow.
woman. Yeah, so when the British left Nigeria, we were just 60 million people. Now we're 240, 230, 240 million people. And it
Wow.
used to be a balance of Christian and Muslim. But since the South is more educated and the Christians are trying to balance out their economic outlook with their family, maybe how they start their families, then it skewed them to a disadvantage. Now we have a larger Muslim population, which means any rational politician would know that it's a losing battle if you want to really uphold the constitution. The constitution of Nigeria is secular. It was unambiguous when it said no state can adopt any religion. They knew why they said that, because the northern region is it's never adherent to any secular system. It wants to go back to the Talibanistan system of Sharia, which is what the British left. So they wanted to go back to that, and the only reason they can't is because there is a federal force and there was no chance for referendum. So they sneaked the Sharia back into the system through their state governors, because it's a federal system, and no confident politician could ever, even the judiciary, the Supreme Court could not judge that this is an unconstitutional act. So for a quarter of a century now, the northern region is operating under the Sharia. But not just that, then even the federal government is blackmailed, which means you can be taken and whatever happened to me was because they had to appease the Muslim North, which is the bloc. They provide the biggest block of votes. You can lose your votes if you ever try to act according to the constitution, which is why all the illegality happened. And the politicians really, maybe if you're from the Muslim region, you'd think that you're doing something for your God. I told you that the education, the system prepared us that wherever you are a representative of your religion. So they feel maybe they're doing God's work. This is their personal jihad. Anyone is supposed to just adhere. So whichever system I passed through, because I passed through several systems, whichever system I passed through, even though it's supposed to be a secular system, I was never tried under the Sharia, but then the individual applies the Sharia in the cultural way, and jettisons the legal whatever maybe protocol that was supposed to be there.
Okay. So it was more appeasing the Muslims so that the federal government, they needed to make an example out of you, so they gave you over to the Muslims rather than sending you for trial. And you weren't living in the north when you made this post, correct? You were living in another state altogether, and they sent you to Kano, correct?
Yes. I was living in Kaduna State. I was shuttling between the capital, Abuja, and Kaduna State, where I work as an engineer. So the northern region is such a dangerous place that if, for example, there was maybe a media report that there was a blasphemy in Copenhagen or in Paris or in London, then my people would rise. The Muslim, this is not the terrorist Boko Haram. This is just the normal Muslim in northern Nigeria. They would rise, they would look for any Christian they would find and kill. If they can't find Christians, then any non-Hausa person they could find. They would just ask you to recite the Quran. If you can't, or just speak in Arabic. Or if you don't look like our people, or if you don't dress like our people. So this is how dumb the region is. But then this is the government that would take me there, over there for trial. There are several times that such trials ended up with the blasphemer killed. Whether sometimes it's in the police custody, sometimes they'll scale through into the prison and catch the blasphemer and behead him. I could remember on an instance they spared the head of the blasphemer, and they went around the city, holy city of Kano, parading the head. and singing songs of the jihad about how they are just the warriors of Allah, the warriors of Muhammad. And this is a person that has lived all his life in the region, in Kano State. So it happened that taking me there is actually the biggest risk I've ever faced, is the biggest trauma I've ever experienced, because it means whoever knew who I am, because I was active online over the years, want to make a presence that I exist, and the society has to make place for me. They have to adjust their mentality and tolerate my existence in the community. Secondly, also to help organize ourselves, because I realized I wasn't the only one. So we organized ourselves uh, into a community, because we have faced the ostracism, the boycott, and economic backlash. And so we have to help ourselves, which is what I mostly did, organizing ourselves. Then there's also the online recruitment of Boko Haram. It's very challenging for the government. The government actually is very absent in terms of these what I call real life situations, where the Boko Haram is far ahead of the terrorists generally, not just Boko Haram. They're far ahead of the government in terms of recruiting, in terms of mobility, in terms of funding their own operations and logistics. So I felt if the military is fighting Boko Haram, which I know they can't ever win because it's an ideology, they can't really kill off all the terrorists. And even if they did, their religion is still there, inculcating in the mind of the young, the same doctrine that created the terrorism in the first place. So my own hope was to try and create that doubt, where the individual would realize that maybe there's no God, maybe I don't have to explode myself in a marketplace, and also make the case where you can go to paradise. You can make paradise. You can disturb us with the loudspeakers of calling of the prayer. We can tolerate that, but you don't have to explode yourself to kill all of us because you want to make heaven. Make your own heaven without going through my liver. So we try to reason with the normal Muslims. We try to reason online. I never did it in person. Hardly would I ever do it in person. And we try to do it with the rational section of the society, which is just 20%. 80% of my people don't even understand English. So by switching to the local language, the Hausa language, now I was reaching to a wider audience especially during the COVID-19, and they were very much at home. So I knew what we were doing, but I was always on the reliance that one, I had the right to free speech, I had the right to freedom of religion, and also I believed that the government would protect us, not side with the people that wanted us dead. You could also imagine that no one ever was arrested. Of all those thousands, it's not just the death threats, but all those that actively went around looking for me. No one was ever arrested. People went to several police stations, to my parents' home, to other places looking for me, and nobody was ever arrested. In fact, the opposite happened. Terrorists got freed several times. They got freedom if they swore that they will not kill again. You swear by the Holy Quran you will not kill again, then you are free to go. These are active terrorists. You'd see it on the news. 300, 350, 500, 1,000 Boko Haram repentant terrorists have repented, and now they are reintegrated back into the society. And I ended up with a 40-year sentence. It's 40 years. I was sentenced to 24 years plus 16 years. It was 40. So I served 4.5, which is a cumulative of about 7 years if you count it with the prison calendar. But since I served more than 5, they said I could be let go. So we're still at the Supreme Court at this moment, where we're trying to challenge the jurisdiction of the Kano state for abducting me in one region and not trying me in that region, but taking me into another region where they have advantage. That's a challenge for jurisdiction. That's one. Secondly, we're challenging even the safety that they never considered, or they did consider, but they wanted me dead. Then maybe the paperwork comes after, because they told me that if you don't convert, we'll take you to prison. They kept me for 3 months. That's the federal police acting as an ambassador. They are acting as ambassadors for the religion. So I was kept for 3 months with the offer that repent, and we make a video, we record you such as this, and you repent to the Muslim Ummah that you have repented, you are carried away by some devil, maybe a demon possessed me, and then now I'm back to my senses, or maybe the mental illness was really eating me up. So now I'm back, and I have repented, and then I'm converting to Islam. Then the precondition for that repentance was that I will never be allowed online ever again. I will never leave Kano State ever again, and I'll have a job. I will be married proper. They never recognized my civil union marriage. So I have to be married in the Islamic way, where I buy the bride, pay the bride price, and get the wife. And so they gave those preconditions, and I told them I'll consider. So we took time. We took time, and they had preachers in the police custody. I had preachers from lecturing departments from other places coming to reason with me that I should consider, because this is the best chance. Otherwise, I'll be in jail. And they told me that you know what happens while you're in jail, because we know what will happen to you. And I know what will happen to me. So I never thought really they would take the chance, but they did. So on June the 25th, 2020, I was taken to jail, handcuffed, and along with the several convoys of policemen, I was taken into jail. And then at the jail, immediately, I was offered Islam again. I was offered Islam. The prison guards now offered it back. They said, take this option now. If you are too strong-headed, then your life is yours to play with. We can't really help you. We're just 300. There is 1,000 people, and eventually it became 2,000. And I wasn't protected in that prison. I wasn't. I was just kept there. So I asked for how long should I give the faith, give the facade. I didn't say give the facade, obviously, but I asked how long do I have to practice Islam before I get a chance to be at court? Because I believed that at court, maybe I would get bail. So when I asked, they said, you have a date 2 weeks from now. That's a fortnight. So I felt maybe a yoga for a fortnight wouldn't be bad, just to save your life. And so I went with the plan. 2 weeks being a Muslim, 2 weeks having to pray along with the Muslims, fast along with the Muslims, and do whatever practices. So I came as Mubarak. I can't really hide it. It's my name. So I can't be anything else in a prison where almost 100% are Muslims. And so I joined in the prayers, I joined in the practices, and I waited. 2 weeks became 2 months, 2 months became 2 years eventually. But over the months, over the years, I chose not to practice because eventually I had access to legal counsel. So I told them, I don't really want to be Muslim and I'm not protected. And also, lucky for me, we had to go with a narrative, I and wardens, that if they asked what was my case, because people eventually want to know what brought you, then they brought a plan that I am just a politician that stole 2 billion naira. And if I stole 2 billion naira, then it gave me a big prestige where I get safety, I get good treatment from inmates, and they give me a lot of respect. So instead of maybe death threats, and now I got respect. People wash my clothes, people wash my plates. Not that I really wanted it, but they just come. If they see your cheeks good and they think your skin is good, they believe you're good. Maybe you could help them with some morsel of food, or maybe if you are free, you'd be sending some help towards their way, or especially towards maybe bail conditions or lawyer legal representation, because the prison is just for the poor. It's not for the rich. There are only
And
poor people.
the guards didn't like tell the prisoners that you were there for blasphemy charges? They
Yeah, well,
kind
they
of
were
kept it in.
professional with that. They were very professional. So we kept the facade that I'm a politician that stole 2 billion naira, and it kept on until I think gradually, because that was during the lockdown, so there were no courts. And so gradually, and I realized that I'm not converted to Islam. I had no access to lawyers, no phone calls, because others were going to court, others had phone calls. I had none. I was just there for months. So I wrote a letter to the heads of the prison challenging my incarceration, that if he said I'm here for a trial, let's go for the trial. And I'm not really up for the practice. I'm given the facade that I'm a Muslim while I know I'm not. So I think around towards the end of the year, they allowed, that was 6 months after That's 9 months after my abduction and 6 months after my jailing when I was introduced to the prison. So I had access to a lawyer and I told him my situation and we got a plan. And I was even taken to court. But when I was taken to court, then a surprise came that the judge never really wanted to have me there. He told me that I'm not really for trial. I'm just there for wait. So I had to wait further 2 years until I had my day in court. He
Sure,
could have
yeah,
given me a bail right there because of my safety, but they chose to
but he didn't.
just keep me there. Yes.
So at what point did you lose faith in the whole system? Like you were saying, like you never expected to be sent to Kano. You expected that this is a secular government, that you have freedom of speech. So where in this process of weeks and months, when did it finally dawn on you that, this whole system is broken and corrupt and that you're now locked into a situation that is dire?
Okay, that's when I wrote the letter. This is where I have to conclude that. So I wrote a letter that protesting my incarceration, and I threatened to go on hunger strike. I said I will go on hunger strike, and beyond that, I will go on maybe just identifying myself in the prison. Then it's your own security situation. You can handle it your own way. I thought if I challenged them in that aspect, maybe they would consider that this man could really lose his life under our care. And I thought this would pressure them towards a speedy court process. And especially maybe whomever is keeping me there, maybe they could place a phone call because in Nigeria, this is the system. A rich man or a big man, such as my father, could make a call, take this person and just put him in jail. My father arranged for the same hospitalization a decade prior. It wasn't because I saw a doctor, a medical doctor, that said atheism is not insanity. He gave all the factors that I have nothing to do with the mental asylum. But then 6 months later, my father made few calls, and I was arranged, and I was taken there unconscious. So now I knew if I gave those kind of threats, they would still call my father and the people he associates with, which is the governor, the father, the sultan, maybe the head of the Muslim community, and the clerics. They could call a conference that the man has had it and he's breaking down. Maybe we could change his position now, maybe change his location. But they were really determined to have me killed. So when I wrote the letter, they called me. They said, really, you want to kill yourself? You want to go on hunger strike? You want to identify yourself with these dangerous criminals? Go ahead. It's yours to call. So I was, in fact, there was a proposal that I would be locked because I was locked in a smaller cell about this size with 4 people, which is pretty safe
Wow.
and pretty clean. Yeah. So, but there are other cells. The other cells had 250. You could imagine a bus size cell, very long with windows all through. Then people are just laid like sardines in the cells, just lying down. You could the only image you could compare it with is those trains on the Auschwitz axis taking prisoners, Jewish prisoners. So this is how they lie down. This is how they sleep. You can only stand. You don't have any movement. And so they proposed to take me there as punishment and cut because they were giving me toothpaste since they never allowed contact with the outside world. So they're giving me tea stuff and sugar, then toothpaste, then bread, and detergent and soap. Because if you don't have those, you're cut off. You just grow rashes and everything. Even with
So
that,
why
I grew ill and I grew rashes, a lot of rashes.
so
It's
wh-
just a
why were
condition.
you Why were you in a cell with only 3 other people instead of in the cell with 250? Is that because of your father's influence that you were in a better cell, or
Yes. Also, they consider the VIP. Most times, there are backdoor arrangements. If you are VIP or if you're educated or if you're able, you could make quiet arrangements and buy your own bed space. But this is not supposed to be how it. This is not how it gives. They give the impression that only special prisoners are given that. So even if I don't think my people that got me there really had an idea how the prison system worked, but the prison would respect you just by the appearance, how you behave. You're not coming with marks. You're not coming with those kind of dirty faces that you are really a terrible criminal. So they would like to respect you in that aspect until you prove yourself otherwise, such as my letter. So if they believe you're civilized, maybe they take you to these kind of special cells. Though it's not protected, but it gives you a little
It's
privilege and
better.
an edge. Yeah, better. So
Yes.
if they could take you if you ever, for example, had an exchange, or maybe you resisted the prayer, you said you wouldn't pray or something like that, then you could be moved to the other cells. So that was the threat. Then I realized maybe I have to be as diplomatic as I can. So I waited, and that wait took me 2 years.
And your father, with all his influence, couldn't get you out or couldn't get the judge to release you on bail or expedite your trial? Like, your dad just basically left you there?
Yeah, I think my father already resigned to the fate that he has lost his son. This was a decade ago. When it started, when he realized I'm not going to be a Muslim, he has already given up on me, that I should just go, that since he's losing me, and he tried to get the medications, because actually it's a wicked method. What he was given, the impression he was giving the media was that I am medically, no, he didn't say I was medically challenged. He said he was doing it to protect me because the Sharia, and according to the Sharia, you can't really be tried for apostasy and beheaded if you're mentally ill, if you're mentally challenged. That was the prerequisite. But he knew I was sane. And so people asked, then if you knew you're just protecting him, why are you drugging him? Because they gave me the intravenous, I went unconscious, and they kept feeding me the antipsychotics. So he's already decided maybe to destroy the brain if it's not any good for Islam. And so later, I've now realized that he made the same arrangement. Whether I ended up dead, as long as I'm quiet, then it's no longer their problem. So I kept to myself. I decided that I will get out of this by myself. And I realized that the government is not just taking sides and not trying to protect me, but in reality, the government is also arranging to have me murdered. Because even in the jail, I could get murdered. Even at court, if I stood the trial, they could have arranged the trial. We have a million locations in Nigeria. The trial could have happened, not in Kano, where they could attack the court, and the judge is not free to deliver any favorable judgment to me, even if I was not guilty. Also, the police are not safe. And especially myself, I'm not safe. And if we were to go through the whole trial system and details of my posts on Facebook, which is over a decade of posts, they only selected those in their local language, which aroused the anger and the emotional outbursts. And they could have selected maybe 1,000 more, and I could have gotten a million years in jail.
And all this from the religion of peace, that they're threatening your life, they're threatening your safety, taking away your freedom of speech, threatening the judges, all this from the religion of peace. So,
Exactly.
so,
Exactly.
so how did I would presume that, like, when you were first, there were must have been some moments where you were very fearful for not only your safety but for your life. That you could have been beaten, you could have been killed each at any time. Like, you never know when it's going to come. Like, you must have been living in constant fear, or did it at some point you just kind of gave up and, like, if it comes, it comes. And, like, I can't live under this constant stress and always worrying.
Well, so one of the reasons why I kept my atheism to myself, it was actually agnosticism then. Although I don't have the terms, I was just believing things that I really didn't have a grasp what they were. This was my teenage years, which means it was in the early 2000s. I don't have internet, I don't have anything. I just knew I don't believe. And I kept these things to myself because I knew the consequences could be either my death or ostracism, or I lose all the privileges, or lose all my friends, which I eventually did. And maybe you can't ever marry maybe the person from your culture or from your tribe as normal as it could be. And so I've already resigned in my teenage years that it can never be me exposing my belief to the world, which is what happens with millions in the region, millions. So I decided to keep it to myself. Then in my 20s, Boko Haram came knocking. And then the bombings were happening. We were just reading it about bombings in Fallujah, killings in Kandahar, a suicide bomber in Paris. But now this is real. This is coming home. Now it became so real that I can't really keep quiet. And they were recruiting online publicly, with brazenly, and the government has no idea how to solve this problem. They just keep buying weapons, rifles, and this and that, and then even the soldiers get killed. You'd see videos of beheadings of the soldiers or rifling them on the head. So I realized if I was the only one, I thought really I was the only atheist ever in the region. So I thought if I could solve the problem, maybe I should. So I started making posts. Back then, it was just 200 friends on Facebook. I started making posts about the sources of terrorism. This is how it happens. This is how it's happening. This is where we got it. Because I was taught the same thing. So, and these Boko Haram are quoting the same things with the same meaning that we all know as Muslims. And I'm not a Muslim, but I tried not to remove myself so as to be as very argumentative and acceptable as possible. So when I realized it doesn't work, then I declared that really there is a way out. I have left the religion. This was when they released a video of a beheading of a Christian girl. I have had it by then. I have had it, but I thought I would lose my life. So I was sure I was never gonna make it to 30, and then I did. Then later I realized maybe I started over when I left home that time in my 20s. Then in my 30s I had to start over. Even at work I was identified as that atheist that left Islam, and so I was bullied and I was suspended for a year, about a year, until I fought it and I got back to the job. Then in my incarceration, I also thought maybe that's the end. So there was never a time that I thought I would make it out alive. Even when I left the jail, I never thought I would make it out alive, out of
Yeah.
Nigeria,
So
especially even at the
you were
border.
just so you had just resigned yourself to that fate that this was going to happen anyways. And if I read correctly, you were arrested before your son was even born, correct?
Yes.
So so your son was born after you were arrested, and then you spent 5 years in jail. So you've now been released. You said your family is still in Nigeria, but did you get a chance to see your wife and son before you left the country?
Yes. So now I knew I would never have the chance to get married the proper way, the proper cultural way. I don't care if I had to go around the fire 7 times or whichever possible, but I knew I have to get married. So I tried to get married when I left home a decade earlier, and I had a partner, and we had a son together. I lost the son while I was in jail. I only learned about it after I got out. So but we parted ways long before my incarceration. This was when I had the challenge with the work and I was suspended and there was no money. I couldn't feed myself, so she left. So a few years later, when I got back the job, I felt this is not a reliable partner if she would leave me. So I chose to try again with another person. And we had the son. The child was born March 17th, 2020, just just before my abduction by my arrest. So he was born during the COVID-19, and immediately they were settled in Abuja. I made sure of that. We had a safe house. I already have safe houses in several states where we put people that are in most danger. So I located one of the safe houses in Abuja to my wife, where she would manage it along with other humanists, where when we have cases, we could manage that together. And I was planning to also relocate over there to the capital and leave the job that has given me so much trouble, then start over in the capital. That was when the COVID-19 came, and that was when I was taken. I was taken only when the child is 5 weeks old, only 5 weeks old. So he was a baby. I haven't seen him ever since until the area Humanist International and such as your organization that was supporting them supported travel towards Kano State. They came around and I saw him for the first time in almost a year. And I never saw them again until the following year. I think I only saw him only 3 times. So I would just see a baby like this Then the next visit he's like this. Then the next visit he's like this. So I only had the chance to see him a few times. Then he's already a grown little toddler. So when I transferred after I pled guilty, I got the 40 years sentence. So I transferred out of Kano State to Abuja, which was one of the strategies just to get to safety where I can get medical checks, I can get medical help. I got so ill, also where I can be more accessible to them, my family. And so I was in Kuje prison from 2022 September the 6th up until August the 19th, 2024. So I had access to them. We now correlated very well, and we I now got more privileges than I had in Kano. So we got along fine. And immediately after my release, even though there were gaps where, now I'm an identified atheist and she's a Muslim. And so we have issues with that regarding the union. So even as I came out, we couldn't manage to live together because she's living with her parents. And so I had to just manage and stay close where I can have access. And this is how we managed the 9 years until the 9 months until I got the process to relocate here to Germany. And it's still a work in progress. I hope maybe we end up together. But if it doesn't work, then I'm resigned to this kind of fate that maybe that's how good it was ever going to be, because I tried with a partner and I failed. I tried again and I failed. And it doesn't work when you are not a Muslim and you are married to a Muslim. And the cultural attachments and the tribal attachments is still there, where you still feel that those are the people you're supposed to marry. But if the conditions couldn't allow for that, then maybe it's time to move on. But I'm still in the beginning of the program, and I hope to get maybe residency, and then we see how things go.
Yeah. Oh, I'm reminded of that phrase that freedom isn't free because you've been fighting for these freedoms in Nigeria and it's cost you everything. Like your freedom, the act, being there with your young son. Now you're separated from them, trying to get asylum in Germany, trying to get visas for them to come and join you. So it's cost you a lot to stand up and fight for freedom of conscience and freedom of expression. So you're definitely a very brave man. So how did you actually end up getting out of jail then? So you said you served 4 or 5 years of this 40-year sentence. So did they just want to get rid of you, like because you were a thorn in their side, and that they figured you'd learned your lesson, or that your lawyers were fighting to get you released? So can you just maybe give us quickly how you managed to get out of a 40-year sentence after 4 to 5 years?
Okay, so I could have gotten out immediately after the sentence if my lawyers had applied for bail, because there is a chance that if you are protesting your sentence, then you could apply for bail at the appeal court immediately you get it. I don't know how they failed to do that. But although there are frustrations with access to the legal system. Even the appeal court was supposed to be in Kaduna State. This is how it has been since the colonial times. But immediately, Kano State had me. They decided to convert a building to an appeal court. So this is so that because the moment you leave Kano State, then I have a chance. So they situated an appeal court where they could just make the arrangement where the federal court has to now also sit in Kano State, which this one was the factor that took us so long to get the release. So, but the court being situated in Kano is not really free to administer any justice beyond what they can, or without maybe creating the impression that they helped an enemy of the religion. And so they were sitting, I think, 2 to 1, most two Muslim judges and one Christian. And I could assume that the Christian is in Kano State, housed in Kano, so he cannot deliver any neutral judgment. So they said maybe the 5 years are enough for a blasphemer and an apostate. And one reason is because I could have still been tried while I was in that trial for apostasy. So it's really the best chance to get out and leave Kano, leave the Sharia region, because if it's another trouble. It's not really that they could get to carry the sentence. The logic is to keep you as long as possible. And they tried that. They had 5 years out of my life, and my hope, as we just recorded that program just today, I was inquiring, okay, now I don't really want to remain forever away from my country, because my work is there, my soul is there, my heart is there. In the figurative speech, there is no soul. So I said, how does it happen that I can get paperwork where I get to come to Germany without requiring the visa and whatever? Then I can be going home and then alternating to and fro, where I can go and do my work when it gets hot and I maybe touched too much buttons, then I flee away and maybe gather back my energy back in Europe. So I inquired about that, and they said it's a possibility, because I really want to go home. I don't want to stay forever away from my people, although the internet would provide such an avenue. But I also want to run for a political office, hopefully the highest political office, because I hope uh, the trajectory of Nigeria is very dangerous. We are on a very dangerous trajectory. They don't really see it. There was a letter I wrote to a president about a decade ago or more, about the Almajiri system, about all the. This is before Boko Haram started. I wrote that this is what could happen. There could be breakdown of laws and order, and we could have a Somalia in northern Nigeria. And it came to happen. And I'm now seeing that with the insecurity on the Sahel region, from the Senegal axis towards the Somali axis, that is the Sahel region, where Al Qaeda, ISIS, and all those people killing indiscriminately Christians, Muslims, and everyone else, quoting jihad verses, raping women because the Quran said you can rape them if you abducted them. So I hope to go back and bring about the change in person. And I believe, even if I don't win, the making the presence matters, because now it expands the very narrow horizon of thinking my people have, that the world just stops with Saudi Arabia, or so the world just stops with the Christian system, where it has to be either Muslim or Christian. Even as I identify as an atheist, then they would ask, okay, you don't believe in anything, so what is stopping you from killing people or becoming a bad person?
Because I'm
One of
not a
the reasons
Muslim.
why, yeah. So one of the reasons now is staying in the northern region was so that they see that I eat the same food, I get ill the same way they do, and we can get along pretty fine. If I go back home, so someday hopefully I am started a political platform where we get secularists, which can be Muslim, Christian, I don't care, humanists, come in to vie for offices, where we can push the agenda for freedom of thought, freedom of religion, and the Nigerian system, where we can regulate the dangerous preaching that is taking us to this situation, and it could be worse. Also present a constitution, a new constitution, where we have very secular, unambiguous statements, where there has to be statements against operating a dual system under the federal system. Whether we have a federal system or a unitary system, we present it. And then I'll also propose a referendum where the country gets to choose which way to go. If we want to go the way of Somalia, we can go that. But they have to choose that this is what they want. They want a Talibanistan system, they can take it. If another section wants something else, we can take it. But it's a forced marriage that I don't really think is working. The one section looks towards the Saudi system, the other section wants civilization, and we are just tearing ourselves apart. There is never cohesion, there is no tolerance, there is only hate. But the good thing is, it's only one side hating the other. The Christians don't want to dominate Kano. It's my people, the northern region, that wants to dominate. They would always boast that the Islam has to reach the Atlantic Ocean. We have to dominate, we have to conquer, which is when you see any political jingoism, it sees about being Muslim and how the seat can be taken by Muslims. This is one of the politics of domination by my people. So I want to come there as one of them, but not really a Muslim. Then we see how it goes. I hope with the referendum, we can choose to belong, because it's their option. It's now a big option for everyone. If we want to go the way of Yugoslavia, where the former Yugoslavia, where you have separate states operating, then fine. And we now have a sincere and frank maybe region where everyone gets to control their own territory. If you want the Sharia, you can have the Sharia. If you want jihad, have it within yourselves. The problem is you want the jihad, but you want it across on other people. And you want paradise, but you want to go through people by exploding. So my people have to really wake up, because I think the coming years, if I can have the balance, maybe health challenges and maybe the personal security and the mental stability. Part of the programs I'm going through is therapy, trying to come back, because I lost a lot of memory. I have suffered so much trauma. So if I can get back to that stability and get the resources needed and the connections needed, then I hope to go back home and start all over again. And we take it another level. Hopefully, I don't end up dead, but it's
Yeah.
something that I have to do.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in your progressive ideas. As you said, like the state is broken. You're going to have a huge uphill battle, but at least somebody's trying. Like I've fought losing battles before, and people have asked me, like, why? Is it because somebody has to care? Somebody has to fight to make the world a better place. And if nobody does it, nothing will ever improve. So I applaud you for standing up for your principles and for what it's cost you. So you're definitely a very, very brave man, and I'm honored to have had this time to talk to you and for you to share your story for our audience. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell us what you've gone through and what your plans are for the future and making Nigeria, taking it from its the path it's heading onto and trying to guide your people into the enlightenment, for lack of a better word. So
Indeed, my people are living in 1440, literally. The calendar is the Sharia endorsed calendar, 1440, the Hijri system of calendar. And literally, this is where they live. If you could remember where your continent is, 600, 700 years ago, where you have the year of the Lord, the Inquisitions, the witch hunts, and everything,
same,
blasphemy,
yes.
accusations. So this is where my people are mentally. Even with the internet, it's very regrettable. But I have made a niche in a way, because where I could make an impact, I have made the impact where some people are rational enough to consider that maybe we can live in peace together. Maybe the paradise could be something to pursue in your own personal space, in private, and you don't have to kill others to get or hate others. I just saw a post on Facebook last night where the movement is just an impressive movement that started, where Muslim youth are coming together with Christian youth, trying to bring a cohesion. And then they went about bringing this message to the clerics that have over the decades preached hate. And so some of the clerics now are back in the movement. Then bigger clerics came with the video I saw last night, with the caveat, with the threat that you can't really coexist. It has to be beheaded. He literally said it has to be beheading between you and a Christian. There is nothing like peace. Islam has forbidden it. You can't coexist. They want to kill you, so you have to kill them, which is a lie. So I made a comment on the post. I said, hopefully in 2031, if I get the chance to be Nigeria's president, these are the people we have to isolate. I've had the chance in a decade prior, when I wrote a letter to the then president, how to curtail a possible terrorist organization and terrorist movement in northern Nigeria. The president took it serious because he's a Christian, and started a system where he was inculcating the 12 million almajiris into proper schooling system and dormitories. You know, we have 12 million children just roaming about in northern Nigeria with nothing to do but beg and recite the Quran. So I had that chance. I brought some sanity into the president, because I tried with the governors over the years. I couldn't achieve anything. The northern Sharia governors, I tried so much. Then the president now did it. But immediately 3 years later, he lost the election. And a northern president came about, and he abolished the whole program and said, no, the children have to roam the streets for another decade. So now they were just 8 million Almajiris when we started. Now there are 12 to 14 million Almajiri children. So there are a lot of ways to make impact, but we have to start somewhere. And I've already had the time to think how to strategically place things. One of the things I want to do is to have a media house, if I could get the resources, have a channel, TV channel, where from safety, the staff could release programs and news and reorient the people so that we can, as you said, bring them into enlightenment, into the modern day.
All right. Good luck. It sounds like it's going to be a really uphill battle, but you seem to be positive that you can accomplish it. So,
As long as I'm alive, I have to try something.
yeah. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I should let you go because we both got things to do. We've been talking for about an hour, which is generally about where we wrap things up. So, yeah, really, thank you for just being you and being true to yourself and your principles and fighting to make this world a better place. It's really been an honor to get a chance to talk to you, Mubarak. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. The pleasure is mine. And
Yeah.
thank you for everything, all the organizations, and especially yours. You're the ones with the
Yeah.
consistent monthly allocation to my family. I appreciate it deeply. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're very welcome. It was the least we could do to help somebody, on the front lines, fighting the battles. So the least we could do was to help out. So, and to our donors as well who sent in some money. So thank you to that as well. Some of the money came from our own funds, but also some of it came from the people who sent in money. So we definitely want to thank everybody, and including the other organizations and individuals who contributed. So thank you very, very much for helping to keep Mubarak's family from starvation and homelessness. So really
Indeed.
appreciate that.
Indeed.
Great.
Pleasure.
Okay, so thank you, Mubarak. Good luck with everything in your future. Keep us informed. If you're going to do this presidential run, we should have you back on the show again, and have you come back and tell us about your platform.
Hopefully, and
Okay.
I hope someday we will have maybe a grant for international organizations and asylum in Nigeria, where people under threats will come to Nigeria and seek asylum, and we give them protection, especially. This
Yeah.
is the trajectory I want to place Nigeria on.
Well, let's hope you can make it a reality. So if you can get
Thank you.
enough people on your side. So okay. Cool.
I
So keep
believe
us
it's
informed
possible.
and
I
yeah.
hope it is, but
Well,
I believe it is. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, everything's possible whether you can get the people on your side. If enough people are fed up and want to see the change, then you might get that shift in the demographics that falls in line behind you and wants to see their country improve. So
I think they when they get humanism, they would understand you are not really the enemy and you are not hating the people when you are criticizing the religion. They could call it insults to their religion, but you are criticizing a dogma, a religion, and it has nothing to do with the person. The person is protected. The person is a human being. And we are humanists. We protect Muslims, Christians, and everyone else. And we are secular. We try to keep your religion to yourself and try to promote human progress. And if I could replicate humanism in Nigeria, I think it's worth it.
yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, keep us informed, and we'll let our followers know, and so they can keep track of what you're doing there. So
Indeed. Thank you.
okay. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to Mubarak's story, and we will see you all on the next podcast, whenever that might be. So take care. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching. Please check out the other videos on my channel if history is your thing, and see you next time.